Welcome to Triumph IAS. It's a daily mains practice question and answer series. This program is exclusively designed for UPSC CSE aspirants. In this video discussion, we will discuss UPSC CSE mains previous 25-year questions. Question number 1. How do the melting of the Arctic ice and glaciers of the Antarctic differently affect the weather patterns and human activities on the Earth? Explain. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. The Arctic is an ocean, covered by a thin layer of perennial sea ice and surrounded by land. Antarctica, on the other hand, is a continent, covered by a very thick ice cap and surrounded by a rim of sea ice and the Southern Ocean. The main body of the answer should be: the melting of the Arctic ice and glaciers of the Antarctic affect the weather patterns and human activities differently as given below. Number 1. The Arctic and Antarctic act like the world's refrigerator. Since they are covered in white snow and ice that reflect heat back into space, they balance out other parts of the world that absorb heat. Further, less ice means less reflected heat, meaning more intense heat waves worldwide. It will also mean more extreme winters, as the polar jet stream is destabilized by warmer air. It can dip south, bringing the bitter cold with it. Number 2. The loss of ice and the warming waters will affect sea levels, salinity levels, and current and precipitation patterns. Rising seas endanger coastal cities and small island nations by exacerbating coastal flooding and storm surge. Number 3. The unpredictability of weather caused by ice loss is causing damage to crops on which global food systems depend. Number 4. Due to glaciers melting, glacial lake outburst floods are becoming frequent and causing huge casualties and losses to local infrastructures. Conclusion of the answer is: the extent of annual sea ice has been changing in both the Arctic and Antarctic. In both cases, it is explicable in terms of global warming. The global community should adopt a sustainable approach to minimize the effects of global warming. Question number 2. Do you agree with the view that increasing dependence on donor agencies for development reduces the importance of community participation in the development process? Justify your answer. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Donor agencies are an important financial help when the projects that have been developed shall be carried out to meet the strategic objectives. Donor-funded projects, DFPs, are conceived as developmental projects meant to complement government developmental initiatives to its populace. Community participation is perceived to be an essential component in implementing development projects since people's needs are addressed best through participation. The main body of the answer should be: why donor agencies for development are not reducing the importance of community participation in the development process. Number 1 means related to community. A. Donor-funded projects reach the communities through various means which include international financial institutions, IFIs, United Nations, UN agencies that provides grants through government, UN institutions, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, community-based organizations, CBOs, to initiate programs in the society. Number 2, community essential ingredient. A. Donors consider community participation in projects as an essential ingredient of development and eventually their sustainability after the project cycle from the donor perspective. Number 3, goals consider the priorities of recipient. A. Development strategies must be developed by recipient countries, including governments and people, and they must reflect the priorities of the recipients rather than those of donors. Number 4, sustainability of project depends on community empowerment. A. Community mobilization and empowerment are important in donor-funded projects and for its sustainability. B. For any donor-funded project to succeed, it must link not only planning with action but also the aspect that community stakeholders must demonstrate their ownership in the plan. Question number 3. Elaborate the scope and significance of the food processing industry in India. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Scope of food processing industries in India. In India, there is a great scope of food processing industries, and for this reason, during the period March 2017 to April 2000, India has received around 7.54 billion US dollars worth of FDI in the food processing sector. The main body of the answer should be Number 1. Globally, India holds the number 1 ranking in producing some of the major products like mango, papaya, banana, milk, ginger, guava, etc. Also, India is a mass producer of sugar, cashew nuts, potato, rice, wheat, etc. Number 2. Apart from food products, India also produces a significant amount of coffee and tobacco every year. Number 3. Spices are among one of the most exported food products of India. With the help of FPIs, India is making processed spices that can easily be transported with a shelf life of more than a year. As per the data of IBEF, India Brand Equity Foundation, India exported spices worth 4 billion US dollars in the financial year 2021. Conclusion of the answer is food processing is done to make new products out of existing primary food products and also to increase their shelf life so that it stays fresh for longer.